2.1, angles in standard position. Our angle in standard position always starts from the positive x-axis, which is called the initial arm. So when we start to rotate an angle, we want to always start at this positive x-axis. And we want to rotate in the counterclockwise position. So when you do that, if you can imagine, this initial arm that we're starting at would represent our 0 degree mark. Obviously, as we rotate, this arm, the positive y-axis, would represent our 90 degrees. The negative x-axis would represent 180 degrees, and the negative y-axis would represent 270 degrees, and then a full rotation, if we rotated all the way around, would represent 360. So all we're doing in this example is sketching the angle in standard position. So if I wanted to sketch the angle in standard position, I want to rotate from my initial arm to approximately 70 degrees, which is going to occur in this first quadrant between 0 and 90. So I'm going to rotate approximately here would represent 70 degrees. And I show my rotation with a curve and an arrow going to my terminal arm. This is my terminal arm. So if I wanted to sketch an angle in standard position of 210 degrees, thinking of these angles, 210 degrees is going to be past 180 but before 270. So my terminal arm is going to occur somewhere in quadrant 3. And somewhere here, my rotation is starting at my initial arm, which is 0. I'm rotating around to this position. So this would represent 210 degrees. 330 degrees, again, if we consider these angles, 360 all the way around. 330 degrees would fall somewhere between 270 and 360. Approximately there. I'm going to rotate from my initial arm all the way around to here, and this would represent 330 degrees. And then lastly, a standard position of 145 degrees would occur between the first and second quadrant, between 90 and 180. So my terminal arm is going to be here. I'm going to rotate 145 degrees. Okay, and these would represent all of my angles in standard position. Okay, continuing on to example 2 here, it's asking us to identify the reference angle for each angle in standard position, and your reference angle is always an acute angle, which represents an angle less than 90. And that reference angle is going to occur between the terminal arm of your angle in standard position and the x-axis. Okay, so this is key. Okay, it's between the terminal arm and the x-axis. You never want to look at the reference angle between your y-axis. So going back to example A, our rotation angle was 70 degrees. Our reference angle will also be 70 degrees here. So our reference angle between here and here, our terminal arm and the x-axis, is also 70. Question B, our reference angle is going to be the angle between our x-axis and the terminal arm, so from here to here. So to figure that out, well, my full rotation is 210. I'm going to subtract this rotation to 180, and that'll give me my reference angle. So 210 minus 180 is equal to 30 degrees. So my reference angle here would be 30 degrees. Next, looking at this rotation, well, my reference angle would be here between the x-axis and the terminal arm. So I want to figure out this reference angle. So I'm going to take a full rotation all the way around, which is 360, and I'm going to subtract my angle in standard position. So my reference angle would be 30 degrees. And then lastly, my reference angle in this last question would be in between this x-axis and my terminal arm. So this is my reference angle. Again, I'm going to take a rotation all the way to 180 and then subtract my angle in standard position. So my reference angle in this case would be 180 minus 145 degrees, which gives me a reference angle of 35 degrees. And that is angles in standard position.